The massive crystal dome of Helia 7 space station glittered against the backdrop of swirling nebula clouds. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Mary Collins smoothed down her formal blue uniform, trying to calm her racing heart. This was humanity's first appearance before the full council, and everything had to be perfect. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture. Curved walls rose in graceful spirals, dotted with hovering platforms, where representatives from over 30 spacefaring civilizations sat in their environmental bubbles. The air hummed with translation devices and life support systems. Ambassador Collins, the voice of Council Leader Zixtal, echoed through the chamber. The tall Arcturian's crystalline body structure caught the light as they spoke. Earth's petition for Council membership requires substantial discussion. Your species is young. Mary stepped forward, her boots clicking against the polished floor. With respect, Council Leader, humanity has achieved faster-than-light travel, established peaceful colonies, and maintained diplomatic relations with 12 Council species for over a decade. A ripple of movement passed through the assembled aliens. The jellyfish-like Medusans pulsed with doubt-indicating colors, while the insectoid Vex clicked their mandibles in what Mary had learned was disapproval. Young species require proof of cultural stability, rumbled Representative Core of the silicon-based Petrovi. Your history is filled with conflict. Mary felt Security Chief John Baker tense beside her. They had prepared for this argument, but the dismissive tone still stung. If I may, she said, we've brought a demonstration of human discipline and unity. She nodded to Baker, who spoke quietly into his comm unit. The chamber's massive doors slid open, revealing 20 members of Earth's combined honor guard. Their dress uniforms gleamed under the chamber lights, medals and insignias catching the glow of 1,000 alien eyes. What happened next was meant to be a simple military drill, a demonstration of precision and control. The honor guard moved in perfect synchronization, their movements sharp and practiced. Boots struck the floor in exact timing. Ceremonial rifles spun and clicked with flawless accuracy. The chamber fell silent. Even the perpetually chattering Vex grew still. What Mary hadn't expected was the reaction spreading through the alien representatives. The Medusans had shifted to deep crimson, their color of alarm. The crystalline Arcturians were vibrating at frequencies that made their environmental bubbles hum. Fascinating, whispered Zixtal, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. They perform the ancient rituals. Mary blinked in confusion. Before she could speak, Representative Core's booming voice filled the chamber. The humans bring war dance to the council. This has not been seen since the gathering of the Third Age. The honor guard continued their routine, unaware of the growing excitement. Their movements, honed by months of practice, were precise and powerful. Each turn, each step, each rifle movement was executed with perfect timing. Baker leaned close to Mary's ear. Something's wrong. The Medusans are releasing threat pheromones. Mary watched in growing concern as the alien representatives began communicating rapidly in their own languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up, fragments of conversation reaching her ears. Just like the legends of the warrior clans. Such coordination in ritual combat. Perhaps we underestimated. The honor guard finished their routine with a final, synchronized rifle movement. The sound of 20 rifles coming to rest echoed through the chamber. In human terms, it was an impressive display of military precision. But the aliens were seeing something else entirely. Zixtal rose from their platform, crystal body chiming softly. Ambassador Collins, we had not expected such directness. To bring the war dance to the council chamber itself, it speaks of great confidence. Mary's diplomatic training kicked in, even as her mind raced to understand the situation. Council Leader, I believe there may be a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, interrupted Core. We recognize the ancient forms, the synchronized movements, the display of weapons, the ritual timing. These are the marks of a warrior culture that knows its strength. The honor guard stood at perfect attention, wondering why their standard drill routine was causing such a stir. Baker's hand had drifted closer to his ceremonial sidearm, a gesture that didn't go unnoticed by the alien representatives. "Even their guardians stand ready," murmured a Medusan representative, its tentacles writhing in patterns of agitation. "They come armed to the council itself." Mary felt the situation slipping away from her carefully planned presentation. "Honored representatives, this demonstration was meant to show our discipline and—" Indeed, Zixtal's interruption rang through the chamber. "Such discipline in war dance has not been seen since the Krell dynasty. Humanity's petition requires careful consideration. We will recess for deliberation." The alien representatives began withdrawing to their private chambers, their discussions creating a buzz of excited and nervous energy. Mary stood rooted to the spot, watching years of diplomatic preparation take an unexpected turn. Baker dismissed the honor guard, then turned to Mary with a worried expression. "What just happened?" Mary watched the last of the alien representatives leave the chamber. "I think," she said slowly, "we just accidentally threatened the entire Galactic Council with a marching drill. Is that good or bad?" "I have no idea." Mary pulled out her comm unit. "But I need to contact Earth immediately. This could change everything, or start a diplomatic crisis." As they left the chamber, Mary couldn't help but notice the changed atmosphere on the station. Alien staff members hurried out of their way, environmental bubbles humming with activity. Their simple military demonstration had clearly struck a deep chord in galactic culture. In the privacy of her diplomatic quarters, Mary began composing her report to Earth Command. How could she explain that humanity's carefully planned council presentation had turned into what the aliens saw as a ritual war dance? More importantly, how would this affect Earth's position in galactic politics? As she worked, she could hear the station's communication networks buzzing with news of the human war dance. Something told her that the path to council membership had just become much more complicated and much more interesting than anyone had expected. The stars outside her window seemed to twinkle with amusement at the cosmic misunderstanding that might just reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. Kevin Wright sat in the observation lounge of Helios 7, watching alien diplomats hurry past in their environmental bubbles. As Earth's senior political advisor, he had spent the last 3 days trying to understand exactly how a simple military drill had caused such an uproar in the Galactic Council. "You should see the data feeds," Admiral Susan Martinez said, sliding into the seat across from him. Her dark eyes were tired from countless hours of emergency meetings. "Every species in the Council has their own interpretation of what happened. The Medusans are calling it the Great Warning, while the Petrovi have written 3 epic poems about it already." Kevin rubbed his temples. "A marching drill. We scared the entire council with a basic marching drill." The observation lounge offered a perfect view of the massive diplomatic vessels gathered around the station. In the past few days, their number had doubled. Species that usually sent junior representatives were now dispatching their highest-ranking diplomats. "Look at this," Susan said, pushing a datapad across the table. "The Arcturians have started moving their defense fleet closer to their core worlds. They're trying to be subtle about it, but our sensors picked up the activity." Kevin scrolled through the report, his frown deepening. "They think we're threatening them. With 20 honor guards." "It's worse than that." Susan leaned forward, lowering her voice. "According to our cultural experts, what they saw matches ancient records of something called the Warrior's Challenge. Apparently, 3 major galactic wars started with similar displays." Outside the window, a Medusan ship performed what looked like an evasive maneuver practice. Its tentacle-like appendages rippled with warning colors that were visible even at this distance. "Ambassador Collins is doing her best to explain," Kevin said, "but every time we try to clarify that it was just a formal drill, they take it as some kind of deeper diplomatic message. The Vex representative actually congratulated us on our subtle warrior diplomacy." A group of Petrovi diplomats floated past their table, their crystalline bodies humming at frequencies that made Kevin's coffee ripple. They were discussing something in their native language, but the words human dance were clearly audible. "We need to understand what we're dealing with," Susan said, pulling up more data. "Look at these historical records. The last time something like this happened was 3,000 years ago. A species called the Krell performed a synchronized display before the Old Council. 2 months later, they had conquered 3 star systems. Kevin watched as more ships arrived at the station. "But we're not planning to conquer anyone. We just want to join the council." "That's the problem," Susan replied. In their eyes, "We've already made a power move. The Arcturian council leader sent a private message asking about our terms." A sudden commotion drew their attention. Through the lounge's windows, they could see a new ship arriving, massive, organic-looking, and unlike anything in their database. "The Znurks," Susan whispered. "They haven't attended a council meeting in 50 years. The arrival of the mysterious Znurk ship sent the station into a flurry of activity. Environmental bubbles zipped through the corridors with new urgency. The translation devices struggled to keep up with the sudden increase in diplomatic chatter. Kevin's communicator buzzed. "Right here." "Sir," a junior diplomat's voice came through. "The Vex are requesting another viewing of the war dance. They say it's crucial for their cultural analysis." "Deny it politely," Kevin said, sharing the worried look with Susan. "We can't risk another demonstration right now." As if the situation wasn't complicated enough, the station's main display screen lit up with news from various alien networks. Kevin watched in dismay as footage of the Honor Guard's performance played on multiple channels, each with its own dramatic interpretation. One Medusan network had added ominous background music. A Petrovi channel was running a detailed analysis of each movement, comparing it to ancient battle formations. The Vex had somehow turned it into a mathematical equation predicting human military capability. "Look at this," Susan pointed to another screen. "The Znurks are calling it the awakening of the young giants. They sound impressed." Kevin stood up, pacing near the window. "We need to control this narrative before it gets even more out of hand. Maybe if we showed them actual human dances." "No," Susan grabbed his arm. "No more demonstrations of any kind. We have no idea how they might interpret a waltz or, heaven forbid, breakdancing." The station shuddered slightly as another diplomatic vessel docked. This one belonged to the Kithori, a species known for their military prowess and general distrust of other civilizations. "Why are they here?" Kevin asked, watching the Kithori ship settle into its berth. "That's the strange part." Susan checked her datapad. "They're requesting an alliance. Apparently, our warrior spirit impressed them." Kevin sat back down, feeling the weight of the situation. What had started as a simple council membership application was rapidly becoming a major galactic incident. Species were choosing sides, making assumptions, and preparing for possibilities that existed only in their imaginations. "We need to talk to Ambassador Collins," he said finally. "This has gone beyond simple diplomacy. We're accidentally rewriting the political landscape of the galaxy." As they made their way to the diplomatic section, Kevin noticed how other species reacted to their presence. Some moved aside respectfully, others watched with obvious caution. A group of young Petrovi actually bowed as they passed. "You know what's really ironic?" Susan said as they waited for the lift. "We spent years trying to prove we were sophisticated enough for the council. All it took was one misunderstood military drill to make us the most influential species in the room." The lift doors opened to reveal a Medusan diplomat, who quickly changed colors and found a reason to wait for the next lift. "Influential," Kevin muttered, "and apparently terrifying." In the distance, they could hear the station's announcement system beginning another emergency council session. The galaxy was watching humanity with new eyes, and every move they made now would be analyzed and reinterpreted through the lens of this unexpected cultural breakthrough. As they approached the diplomatic offices, Kevin couldn't help but wonder, how do you explain to an entire galaxy that they've misunderstood you, when their misunderstanding might be the very thing that ensures humanity's place among the stars. Captain Laura Peters stood before Earth's Central Command, trying to explain how their careful diplomatic mission had turned into what alien media was now calling the Great Awakening. The room was filled with military and civilian leaders, all watching the latest transmissions from across the galaxy. As you can see, she gestured to the main screen. Alien news networks have been running our honor guard footage nonstop. The Medusans have added special effects. The screen showed the simple marching drill, now enhanced with glowing auras and dramatic lighting. "This is getting out of hand," military attaché Daniel Ross said, watching a Petrovi broadcast where a panel of experts was analyzing the hidden meanings in each step of the drill. "They're saying our rifle movements predict future military campaigns." The room grew quiet as a new transmission appeared. It showed massive crowds gathering in various alien worlds, some performing their own interpretations of the human war dance. Their movements were wild and dramatic, nothing like the ordered precision of the honor guard. "We've received 17 alliance proposals in the last 12 hours, Laura continued. "Most of them from species we didn't even know existed. They all want to learn our ancient warrior ways." And Aide rushed in with a new datapad. "The Znurks just released their official statement. They're calling humans the dancers of destiny and suggesting we might be the reborn spirits of some ancient warrior race." Daniel dropped his head into his hands. Perfect. Just perfect. On the screens, more footage played. Alien children in schoolyards attempted to march in formation. Street performers on a dozen worlds incorporated military-style movements into their shows. Even the Kithori, known for their stoic nature, had begun adding synchronized steps to their formal ceremonies. "There's more," Laura said, bringing up another report. "The Galactic University of Cultural Studies has started a whole department dedicated to human ritual combat ceremonies. They're analyzing every piece of human military footage they can find." "What about the diplomatic situation?" someone asked from the back of the room. Laura switched to a different screen. "That's complicated. Ambassador Collins reports that our position in the Council has never been stronger, but not for the reasons we wanted. Some species are supporting our membership out of respect, others out of fear, and a few because they think we're some kind of prophesied warrior poets." The room erupted in discussions. On the screens, more alien news feeds showed the spread of what they were calling human dance fever. A group of Vex scientists had created a mathematical formula they claimed could predict the future of galactic politics based on the angle of the honor guard's rifle salute. "We need to control this narrative," Daniel said, standing up. "Maybe if we showed them actual Earth dances." "No," several voices shouted at once. "The last thing we need is to add more fuel to this fire," Laura explained. "Can you imagine how they'd interpret ballet or hip-hop? We'd probably start an intergalactic religion." The screen suddenly flickered with breaking news. The Arcturian Council leader had just announced the formation of a special committee to study the human mystery. Their statement included phrases like ancient wisdom and martial enlightenment. "It gets better," Daniel said, reading from his datapad. "The Petrovi have written an epic poem about us. They're calling it The Rhythm of the Star Warriors. It's already their most popular entertainment download." Laura brought up a galaxy map showing the spread of what aliens were calling the human influence. Worlds that had never paid attention to Earth were now sending observers. Trade routes were being redirected to human space. Cultural exchange requests were flooding in. "Look at this," she pointed to a cluster of data points. 15 different species have started military precision drilling programs. They think it will help them understand our deeper wisdom. The room watched as more footage played across the screens. A Medusan interpretive dance group performed what they claimed was an homage to human battle rhythm. A Vex mathematician claimed to have discovered the sacred geometry in the Honor Guard's formation. "We've received a request from the Galactic Historical Society," an aide announced. "They want to declare the council chamber a historical site. They're calling it the Place of the First Dance." Daniel looked at the chaos unfolding across the galaxy and shook his head. We spent years trying to prove we were civilized enough for the Council. All we had to do was march in straight lines. The irony, Laura said, is that we're probably going to get our Council membership faster than anyone in history. Not because we proved we're advanced enough, but because half the galaxy thinks we're mysterious warrior philosophers, and the other half is too nervous to vote against us. The screen showed more alien attempts to replicate human military precision. Some were fairly close, others looked more like interpretive dance gone wrong. The Kithori had turned it into a formal greeting ceremony. The Medusans were incorporating it into their religious practices. So what do we do now? Daniel asked, watching a Petrovi news anchor solemnly explain the spiritual significance of a rifle spin. Laura looked at the galaxy map, where more and more systems were lighting up with human dance activity. We stick to the plan. No more demonstrations, no explanations, and absolutely no actual dancing. Sometimes the best diplomatic strategy is to let people believe what they want to believe. As if to emphasize her point, the screen showed new footage of the Znurks performing their interpretation of the war dance, a complex display involving anti-gravity fields and holographic weapons. Besides, she added with a slight smile, this might be the first time in history that a species has gained galactic influence through a complete misunderstanding. The room fell quiet as they watched the effects of their accidental cultural revolution spread across the stars. Somewhere out there, countless alien species were trying to understand the profound meaning of a simple marching drill, while humanity tried to understand how they had accidentally become the galaxy's most mysterious civilization. Ambassador Mary Collins sat in her office on Helios 7, surrounded by holographic displays showing ancient alien records. Cultural expert Paul Harris stood beside her, pointing at images that showed eerily similar formations to their honor guards display. These are from the Third Galactic Age, Paul explained, zooming in on one particular image. The Krell Empire used synchronized movements before declaring war on 3 star systems. The similarities to our drill are uncomfortable. Mary watched as more historical records floated by. Why didn't we know about this before? Most of these records were restricted. After our performance, the Council granted us access. Paul brought up another hologram. Look at this. 3 major conflicts started with displays that the Council species considered war dances. Lieutenant Amy Foster entered the office, carrying fresh data from Earth. It's spreading, she reported. The Arcturians have moved their entire defense fleet to their border. The Medusans are performing what they call counter dances in their temples. Through the office window, they could see more diplomatic ships arriving at the station. The space around Helios 7 was becoming crowded with vessels from species that hadn't participated in Council politics for generations. The Kithori representative wants to meet again, Amy said, checking her datapad. They're very interested in what they call our warrior philosophy. Mary sighed, watching a group of vexed diplomats hurry past her office. We need to find a way to control this situation before. She was interrupted by a sudden flash from the communications array. The main screen lit up with an emergency broadcast. The Arcturian Council leader was making an announcement. In light of recent demonstrations of human ritual combat practices, Zixtal's crystalline form chimed. The Council must consider the historical precedents. We are forming an emergency session to discuss appropriate responses to this cultural development. Paul quickly pulled up more historical data. This is almost exactly what happened before the Krell expansion. The Council held emergency sessions. Species chose sides. But we're not the Krell, Mary insisted. We're not planning any expansions or wars. We just want to join the Council. Amy, who had been quiet for a while, suddenly straightened. Maybe we can use this, she said thoughtfully. Mary and Paul turned to look at her. Think about it, Amy continued. Every species in the Council is watching us. They're studying our every move, trying to find meaning in everything we do. What if we give them something to find? What do you mean? Mary asked. Instead of fighting the misunderstanding, We could guide it, show them that our war dance is actually about discipline, control, and peaceful coordination. The idea hung in the air as they watched more ships arrive at the station. On the screens, alien media continued to analyze and reinterpret the honor guard's performance. She might be right, Paul said slowly. The council species are going to find meaning in our actions whether we want them to or not. We might as well make sure it's the right meaning. Mary walked to the window, watching the swirl of diplomatic activity outside. So instead of telling them they're wrong about us being warrior philosophers, we show them what kind of warriors we choose to be. Exactly, Amy said. We turn their misunderstanding into understanding. Before they could discuss it further, another alert sounded. The Xenerks, mysterious and powerful, had requested a private audience with the human delegation. They say they found patterns in our dance that match their ancient prophecies. Paul read from the message. They think we're part of some grand cosmic cycle. Mary looked at the growing fleet of ships outside, each representing a species that had suddenly developed an intense interest in humanity. Do you know what's really ironic? She asked. We spent years trying to prove we were sophisticated enough for the council. All it took was one misunderstood military drill to make them see us as ancient and wise. Amy checked her datapad again. The Kithori are offering to teach us their battle meditations in exchange for our dance wisdom. The Petrovi want to build a temple to human military precision. And the Medusans, well, they're still doing their counter dances, but now they're calling them harmony movements. Through the window, they could see a Vex ship performing what appeared to be a geometric flight pattern. According to their cultural database, it was a traditional sign of respect for powerful allies. So what do we do? Paul asked, watching the display of alien politics unfolding around them. Mary turned from the window, her decision made. We give them what they're looking for, but on our terms. If they want to see wisdom in our military precision, let's show them what that precision is really about: discipline, cooperation, and the choice to use our strength for peace. As if in response to her words, another fleet of ships appeared at the edge of the station's space. The Galactic Historical Society had arrived to document what they were calling the Great Awakening of Humanity. Send a message to Earth, Mary told Amy. Tell them we need to prepare a new demonstration. Not a war dance, but a dance of peace. Let's show the galaxy who we really are. Outside, the stars seemed to twinkle with anticipation as humanity prepared to turn a diplomatic crisis into an opportunity for true understanding. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see what the mysterious humans would do next. The Grand Assembly Hall of Helia 7 was filled to capacity. Representatives from every council species sat in their environmental bubbles, all eyes focused on the center floor. Military advisor Christopher Morgan stood beside Ambassador Collins, watching as the final preparations were made. Are you sure about this? He whispered. We're taking a big risk. Mary nodded, her eyes on the arriving Xenerks delegation. Their massive organic ship had caused quite a stir when it docked. Sometimes the best way to correct a misunderstanding is to create a new understanding. The hall hummed with anticipation. In the past week, humanity's reputation had grown to almost mythical proportions. Some species believed they were ancient warriors reborn. Others saw them as prophets of some cosmic dance. All of them were here to witness what had been announced as the Great Revelation. Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, Mary's voice carried through the translation systems. We have seen how our previous demonstration affected you. Today, we wish to show you its true meaning. The lights dimmed. In the center of the hall, 40 humans in simple white uniforms took their positions. They carried no weapons or no military insignia. What you saw before was one small part of human culture, Mary continued. Today, we show you the whole. The demonstration began slowly. The humans moved in the same precise formations as the honor guard had, but this time, they flowed into different patterns. Military precision transformed into dance. Drill movements became graceful gestures. The alien audience watched in silence as the performance unfolded. Traditional military drill steps merged with ballet, modern dance, and martial arts. Each movement flowed into the next, showing how human discipline could serve both power and beauty. The dance you saw before, Christopher explained to the assembly, was not about war. It was about unity, about humans working together in harmony. On the floor, the dancers moved through complex formations. What started as military precision became a celebration of human movement and cooperation. The aliens watched as straight lines became circles, rigid formations flowed like water. The Arcturian Council leaders' crystalline form vibrated with new frequencies. They show us the full pattern, Zixtal observed. Not just the warrior's path, but the dancer's heart. The performance continued, each movement telling a story. The dancers showed how human strength could be used for creation instead of destruction, how discipline could serve peace as well as war. In their environmental bubbles, the alien representatives began to understand. The Medusans' colors shifted to shades of comprehension. The Vex's mathematical models found new patterns in the dance. "We are not ancient warriors reborn," Mary addressed the council. "We are not prophets of cosmic dances. We are simply humans, showing you who we really are." The dancers moved into their final formation. Military precision and artistic grace combined in a display of human potential. As the last movement ended, the hall fell silent. Then, one by one, the alien representatives began to respond. The Medusans glowed with colors of acceptance. The Petrovi hummed in harmony. Even the mysterious Nurks showed signs of approval. "We understand now," Zixtal announced. "What we saw as war dance was only one note in a greater song. You have shown us the full melody." The Kithori representative stepped forward. "We sought to learn your warrior ways, but you have taught us something more valuable: the balance between strength and grace." As the council members discussed among themselves, Mary and Christopher watched their weeks of preparation pay off. The diplomatic crisis was transforming into a moment of genuine cultural exchange. "Humanity has proven itself worthy," Zixtal declared, "not through ancient wisdom or warrior might, but through the ability to bridge understanding between different worlds." The vote for Earth's council membership was unanimous. But more than that, a new chapter in galactic relations had begun. The misunderstanding that had started with a simple military drill had led to something greater: true comprehension between species. As the celebration began, Mary watched aliens and humans mingling in the hall. Some species were already asking to learn human dances. Others wanted to share their own movement traditions. "You know what's funny?" Christopher said, watching a group of Vex trying to learn a simple waltz. "We spend all that time worrying about them misinterpreting our military drill, and in the end, it helped them understand us better than any diplomatic speech could have." Outside the station's windows, the gathered ships of dozens of species lit up in celebration. The galaxy had expected to find warrior philosophers, and instead discovered something more valuable: a species that could turn misunderstanding into harmony. Mary smiled as she watched a Medusan diplomat attempting to teach a human child their traditional color dance. Sometimes the best diplomatic victories come from embracing mistakes rather than correcting them. The stars seemed to shine brighter as the celebration continued. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through power or ancient wisdom, but through the simple ability to show who they truly were. And somewhere in the grand dance of the galaxy, a simple military drill had become a step toward greater understanding between all species.